Hi, today we're going to talk about female genital mutilation, and we have Hanan Kahiro in studio with us. Could you tell us a little bit about FGM, as it is called, and first of all about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Hanan Kahiro. I work for Tronem Commune. Female genital mutilations is a very serious practice. It's quite old as well. Its conception of the understanding between traditions and religion is very confusing.
Okay. It's a common perception that FGM is related to religion, especially Islam, but actually studies show that it is pre-Islam, it's pre-religion. Do you know anything about that?
When it comes to Islam and the stronghold of genital mutilations, yes, we have a lot of female who are Muslims. Mm-hmm. But it's not very clear because regarding female genital mutilations, it's not so clear in Quran, but Hadith. Hadith is not in the Quran, but is some short stories about Prophet Muhammad. Mm-hmm. And of course the interpretation of female genital mutilations in Islam has been wrongly misinterpreted.
Could you tell us a little bit, why do you think they do this? Why has this practice thrived for so many years?
I think if you try to see the countries that practice female genital mutilations, you see a lot of things, a lot of facts. Low education in female. Mm-hmm. The practice is mainly done to control female sexuality. Mm-hmm. At the same time, to also deprive them from power, empowerment. I think females or women who live in those countries, they do not understand the consequences of what they're doing. It's a tradition that has been passed on, and it has not been so clear. What purpose? The healthcare has not been so clear regarding the practice.
And that's where you come in.
And that's why I come in.
And how do you deal with this with families, or what's your role in all this?
I think it's very important to enlighten people, because the practice actually is about attitudes, and to enlighten people to understand what consequences that come along is one of the key issues when this practice is regarded.
Could you tell us a little bit about these consequences, the health risks that are involved when a girl has been circumcised?
We do have long and short-term consequences. Mm-hmm. The long terms are very serious, so also the short-term consequences. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of pain, and we have to understand that the circumcision of female genital mutilations is done without anesthesia. Mm-hmm. The act is quite brutal and very sadistic.
Okay.
And there's a lot of short effect of female genital mutilations. There's a lot of pain, blood loss, infections. And for instance, if you're not so lucky, you could also contract HIV.
Okay.
Because the group that is going through the ritual, this is a passage of ritual, as people get confirmed in Norway. This is a very important ceremony for the minority who are dealing with these problems today. They must go through this process to be a part of the community.
Okay. The government has come up with a 4-year plan to deal with this issue among minorities living in Norway. Do you know anything about this plan, and how do they intend to implement any changes?
That's a little bit difficult to have an insight because the plan is not quite clear, especially for me as a worker, because attitudes needs time to change.
Sure.
4 years' term is a very short time.
Yes.
And I also have a strong feeling that to be able to change the practice of circumcision, it should not only be done in Norway,
Mm-hmm.
because with more globalization, we are going to have more cases.
Okay.
And if you truly ask me, I like to have this taken so far to Geneva Commission.
Okay.
I think it should be viewed like torture because it's a very serious practice.
I'm sure that people in your community know that you speak about this and you try to inform parents and families so that they change this practice. How do people react to that?
The reaction could be very positive or very negative.
Mm-hmm.
People find offended.
Mm-hmm.
You are trespassing their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And at times, it's very difficult to deal with the reactions because you might come to cases where people are having flashbacks,
Okay.
recreation of what happened
Mm-hmm.
or was done to them.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people who feel that what has been done has been done, and they don't feel that there's anything to gain. But my intention is to enlighten them that it's possible to live with their complications as long as you understand how to deal with their difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
The situation gets much easier when you know how to deal with headache, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
It gets much easier to deal with the vaginal thrush if you know why you have it and how to avoid to have it. So actually, we're talking about sexuality.
Okay.
And the sexuality within the minority is a taboo.
It's a difficult subject.
It's a very difficult subject to touch.
People here don't know how many girls, especially from Somalian or other African background who are living in Norway, they don't have any statistics or estimate over how many girls that are actually being circumcised in Norway, and they're trying to come to an estimate. But do you have an idea how widespread this practice is here?
That's difficult to have a survey report
Okay.
due to regulations, the Norwegian government regulations.
Yes.
We are not supposed to have survey
Mm-hmm.
because we have to have dialogue.
All right.
And if you have to implement a survey research, that could cause some misunderstanding
Between the communities
between
and
the communities
the authorities.
and the authorities.
But how do you think one could get an estimate? Is that not possible then because of...
It is not possible. And if you also have to think that where the minorities come from, we don't have the numbers that we have. We cannot fully operate on those numbers.
Okay.
We have to remember that most of these minorities, they are post-trauma countries.
Mm-hmm.
They have been traumatized by war.
Mm-hmm.
And some girls are actually much into this country all by themselves. They don't have a network.
All right.
They don't have a network.
And how young or what's the age group?
It could be from 10 young children who has come here without their parents.
I would just like to ask you one more thing. Is what do you think? How can you inform the minority about how barbaric this practice is, or how what kind of health problems a woman can face later on in life due to FGM?
I think the main thing is to establish trust.
Okay.
I think it's important not to step over their meanings that are so precious to them, because they truly believe that this is the best thing to do. And in Islam, where either have to be haram or halal, it's quite difficult to balance the two. The dilemma lays within one's understanding. And so also most children who are in this country, they're not so vocal. Being able to speak their mind is something that is not so accustomed to them. They are curtailed to take orders and not to talk or say what they feel.
But have you spoken to any young girls yourself, since you work with Barnavan, which is child services?
Yeah, I have tried very much to organize a network because I believe strongly that dynamics of change take place in the mechanism of group, because you have to have those who support the culture and those who do not support the culture. And so creating that kind of debate in an open environment is very helpful for a lot of people. Because they need to feel that it's not just me, There's a lot of other people like me, and yet we can talk together. We can have a common arena where we can meet and discuss our issues.
Since you work for the commune, what do you think the Norwegian governments, what kind of steps can they take to help minorities deal with this issue, since it's a very sensitive issue?
I think information is the key. Campaign.
Okay.
At the same time, I feel that also the Norwegian government has to increase more pressure to the countries where female genital mutilation is being carried out. The stronghold of the practice has to get more help to eradicate
Okay.
genital female mutilations.
You mean they have to have an information campaign that is
Precisely.
directed towards these countries where FGM is very strongly practiced?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
That's what I mean. That's what I feel.
Okay. Thank you for coming to our studio and talking about this.
Welcome. Thank you for having me here.